Hello everyone, and welcome to the beautiful beach in Golem, Albania. This is one of the nicer days I've had since I've been in Albania. Finally, I start to see people swimming in the ocean, which is a good sign, so you can kind of see how the temperatures have improved since January when I first got here. So this has been well anticipated for me coming here, even coming here to Albania, I should say. So I just wanted to kind of show the area. I've been through Durrës, and that's where I'm staying, but I decided I would take a tour of Golem, or Golem maybe, which is a city just a little bit south of Durrës, specifically the Plepa area. So I'm walking the beach here, looking for some photo opportunities, trying some new camera equipment out. And so I thought today I would talk about traveling and how anybody could really do it. When I first started traveling, I thought that maybe it was something that only rich people could do, something that you needed a lot of money to do and able to enjoy places like this, which I'm finding out just isn't true. Anybody can travel on a budget, and you can go to some of the most beautiful places in the world just on a very strict budget and low salary. So I want to put an end to that stigma, showing you and hopefully a lot others, and try to convince people that if you want to travel, to drop the inhibition of that it's too expensive to travel, because it's definitely not. Of course, things do get expensive. Flights, especially if you're traveling, all over the world. So I came from the United States, and so a trip to Europe was quite expensive. I think I paid almost close to $1,100. Now that was during a pandemic last year, or this year, at the beginning of this year, January. So I'm not sure if that was a typical price, if the prices were raised because of the situation in the world, but that's roughly what I paid. And yes, that is expensive, that's very expensive. But once I've gotten here, accommodations, foods, restaurants, cafes, even like personal items are much less expensive than what you would pay in the United States. I can't speak for all around the world. I know some expensive places to live, such as in Europe, the UK. From what I've heard, things are cheaper than living in those areas. And I don't mean cheaper as far as quality, I just mean much more less inexpensive. So yeah, that's kind of, I just wanted to make a little bit of a short video to show the beautiful places that you could go, specifically here in Albania, that you can travel on a budget, because I'm definitely not rich and I'm doing it. So hopefully I can motivate some others to do the same if they have the options and the opportunities or the will to travel. You can definitely do it. So I hope you don't consider money to be a major obstacle for you deciding not to travel. All right, so come along today and see some of the beautiful sights that the Golem Beach has to offer here in Albania. All right, I guess we'll start off once again with thinking that it's expensive to fly places. And like I mentioned earlier, The flight to get here was very expensive, by my standards at least. $1,000. Yeah, I think it ended up actually being more like $1,100. Was quite expensive. And so that was one of the reasons that I thought, okay, traveling is expensive. But doing the research a little bit on once you're here and where you can go from here, it's actually quite inexpensive. To pay something like maybe $50 or $100 to go from maybe here to Turkey or here to France. So it's actually quite inexpensive to travel once you're actually on this side of the world. Not like in the United States, when you start off, say like where I was from Wisconsin, a flight might cost you $300, $400, $500 to get to, you know, California, Arizona. That's not the case here. So being in Albania, you can catch a flight basically that's like I said, to go to Turkey or somewhere in Asia for maybe like $100 or less than $100. So if you're using transportation as a whole and thinking of it to be inexpensive, it's just not true. The initial flight, yes, I'll admit that it is very expensive to get here for Americans. But if you already live in Europe and you want to visit this side of the world, it's actually quite inexpensive to travel. The same goes for if you're maybe from Europe and want to travel to, like, say, Mexico or South America, it's going to be expensive as well. With that said, coming from the United States, I started off my travels going to Mexico, and my flight was only, I think, $150 to go from Chicago to I flew into Cancun International Airport, so it was actually quite inexpensive to do that as well. It all depends on where you fly to, and if you're really open to go really anywhere in the world, then just look into the price. Because if you don't have a set destination in plan, just look for the prices, because you can find cheap airfare going from basically anywhere you are to a cheap destination somewhere in the world. So if you're not picky as far as your destination, traveling as far as flights is actually quite inexpensive. Okay, well, the next thing I want to talk about is accommodation. Accommodation is much cheaper than what you would think it is. Depending on where you go, once again, if you're looking to travel full-time, this is what this video is about, and not people who are looking to take vacations. So if you live, or if you want to travel to an inexpensive part of the world, whether it's Southeast Asia, South America, Mexico, or even like Eastern Europe where I am, accommodation is actually very inexpensive. I'm probably, out of all the places that I just mentioned, Eastern Europe's probably the most expensive. And so to give you an example of that, I'm staying here for $10 US a day. My budget is right around $20 US a day. So if you can afford $20, I don't think you would have any issues whatsoever traveling around and staying put in a place for long periods of time. Okay, and one of the last things I want to talk about here is personal items. Personal items are much cheaper depending on where you live, once again. But if you choose to live in a more expensive place than the United States, obviously personal items are going to be more expensive. But when traveling full-time and going to countries that are least expensive than other countries, personal items become much more inexpensive as far as your food. Say if, like for I teach and my headset's broke, I have a pair of headsets. In the United States, I bought these headsets for around $30, which aren't too expensive. Here, I found basically a nice pair to replace them for $5. So, toiletries, as far as toothpaste, toothbrush, all these things are inexpensive. So personal items can be much more inexpensive when you're traveling on the road. And once again, try not to be, you pay tourist prices going to the major cities, but if you live like a local, personal items can be so much cheaper than what you're used to. I want to talk again about groceries, because my bill, living on a monthly basis as far as food, and I don't eat out very often just because of my diet, but I think I spend somewhere right around I would say $250 to $300 per month, which is probably about $150 to $200 less a month than what I'm used to paying in the United States. So groceries are much cheaper, and the main things like the healthy things in the United States are usually more expensive: fruits, vegetables, things like that. But fruits and vegetables, buying them here at the market or at a market are so inexpensive. Obviously, you pay more for the expensive things that they have to ship in. Like, for example, in Eastern Europe, you pay much more for an avocado, which really bothers me because I used to eat about one of those a day. Now I just don't eat too many of them at all. But as far as regular things, cabbage, carrots, apples, bananas, all these things are much cheaper. Beer, coffee, wine, all these things are much cheaper than what you're normally used to living in the United States. So when you take all these things that I brought up today, as far as cost of living, the flight getting here, the accommodation, what it costs to actually live here, as far as if you find a place where the utilities are included, and then your personal items like food and clothes is another good example. You can find a $5 t-shirt anywhere in the world. So things are just cheaper when you travel long term. If you're constantly going from destination to destination, yes, things can get a little bit more pricey. So what I'm kind of an advocate here for is to travel slow, savor it. Staying in a place for a long time, 2-3 months, save up some money again. If you're working online, it's easy to save up your money again from your flight over here or wherever you're going. Save that money back up again and then go to your next destination. So transportation, buses here in Albania have been very cheap. 40 cents per ride within the city. I'm going from city to city. It all depends. Half-hour ride into the capital from where I am cost me $1.50. Going all the way to the southern part of the country cost me $5. So transportation is very cheap as well. So here is to conquering all your inhibitions as far as travel. Your flights, your accommodations, and your personal items. All these things are cheaper than what you're probably normally used to paying back in the United States. So really you have no excuse to come and visit these inexpensive countries which are becoming popular across the world. And so yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and you can visit places off the coast in Eastern Europe that look just like this. So here's to knocking down all the stigmas of expensive travel and why you can't travel. So if you have the urge to travel and you want to travel and you're telling yourself, no, I can't because it's expensive to do so, I'm here to tell you it's not, because I'm the type of person that's very frugal with my money, and I told myself for years that it was too expensive for me to travel until I start uncovering the cost, the real cost, and seeing how I could travel on a budget. It can be done, and I really, really hope that if you want to travel, this will show you at least a little bit that it can be done for you, because if I can do it, you can do it. So I hope you enjoyed today. I hope you got a little bit of information from this video today. And hopefully you're a little bit inspired about travel, because I really think everybody should do it in a way. Long term, that is. So yeah, look into it, do your own research. But this is just a little bit to tell you, hey, anybody can travel, and anybody can travel on a dime. All right, have a good day. Peace.